So recently I revealed that I am circumcised, and I got circumcised when I was 20 years old. And I got a lot of messages, and I didn't know there's so much shame around people who want to get circumcised.
While I was in Uganda, right, my dad just woke up one day and was like, "Rock, you lot all going to get circumcised." I was like, "No."
What, in UG?
In Uganda. I was like 14. We had done in the mosque because
boys who do get circumcision, who then grow up to have either scarring issues, they have trouble with, they have less sexual pleasure.
Ask an average Nigerian guy why he was circumcised, and the answer will always amaze you. Most of the time, you will hear things like it's tradition or it makes you a real man. And that's where the conversation usually ends. But when you look at it very well, when you look deep into it, you realize that that's a permanent decision made on your body without your consent. Yet, most people can't explain the medical reason behind it. I've had conversations with men who genuinely don't understand what was done to their body. Not because they don't care, but because nobody ever sat them down and explained it properly. So in today's video, I am going to walk you through it in a way that actually makes sense, in a way you would understand it. No judgment at all. We will talk about Nigerian tradition, social pressure behind it, what science really says about the benefits and the limits, and the part that is almost never explained, what the foreskin actually does. This is that conversation you probably should have had a long time ago. Let's get into it.
So this is how a man's penis is supposed to be by God, made by God, before the interference of circumcision. And this is what the procedure actually looks like. It's removing the foreskin to actually reveal the cap. I was not asking myself this question, is like, why are they violating a man without his consent, right? You were born and nobody's even asking you, like it's just a practice, we just accept it that way, that, oh, you just remove the foreskin. But that was how we were born. That's nature. That was how God created us. So why are we changing it? I hope that we're not actually losing something, from this practice that we don't question that we do.
And when you really look at it, this isn't just about one or two families. We're talking about almost every boy out there. In Nigeria, circumcision is so common that most people don't even see it as a medical decision anymore. It's just something that is done. You will hear different reasons, depending on where you are coming from. In some Igbo families, it's tied to identity and what they consider proper upbringing. In Muslim homes, it's part of religious practice. In many Christian households, it's simply seen as the right thing to do, something that has been passed down from generation to generation without questions. And then there is also the social side. Boys grow up hearing things like a real man is circumcised, or that's how a clean man should be. Even without anyone sitting you down to explain this whole science thing, the message is already clear out there. This is expected of you. But here's where it gets interesting. For something that is done to almost every boy out there, very few people actually explain what it means medically, what it changes, or why it's even necessary in the first place. It's treated as a normal thing, but not really understood. And once something becomes that normal, people stop asking questions, not because they don't want answers, but because it never crossed their mind that there might be more to know. That's the gap we're about to fill in this video. And when you step outside Nigeria for a moment, you start to see that this isn't actually a universal standard. It's largely cultural. Working here in Europe, I noticed something very, very different. Circumcision is not something that is routinely done to every boy out there. Most of the time, it only comes up when there is a clear medical reason, like a severe infection or a condition that doesn't respond to other treatment. So you start meeting men who are completely intact, living normal lives, no issues, no stigma, nothing unusual about it. It's just their body. But then, in other parts of Africa, you see the opposite extreme. Take Uganda, for example. In some communities, like the Bajisu, circumcision isn't just tradition. It is public, it's intense, and it's tied directly to identity. There have been documented cases where the pressure goes so far that uncircumcised men are publicly shamed, and in some situations, even forced into it by groups who believe they are enforcing culture or protecting the community. So now you have two completely different realities. In one place, it's a routine medical procedure. In another, it's a social expectation so strong that opting out is almost not an option. And that contrast matters because it shows you that what feels normal growing up is often shaped by your own environment, not necessarily by medical necessity. So now the question becomes, if different parts of the world approach this differently, what does science actually say when you remove culture from the equation? So now let's take culture out of this whole thing, and look at the medical side, because this is where things usually get oversimplified. Circumcision does have some documented health benefit, and it's important to be honest about it. Large studies supported by the World Health Organization have shown that in high HIV prevalence regions, circumcised men have a significantly lower risk of acquiring HIV during heterosexual contact. There's also evidence showing reduced risk of certain infections like HPV and herpes. In infants, urinary tract infections are slightly less common in circumcised boys, although the overall risk is already low. Conditions like phimosis, where the foreskin becomes too tight and causes pain, are also prevented when the foreskin is removed. So yes, there are real benefits, especially in specific settings, and this is where context matters. Those HIV studies were done in regions with high transmission rates and limited access to protection. In other settings, like here in Europe, where condom use is more kind of like consistent, the difference becomes even smaller. And that's something a lot of people don't realize. Because when you look at everyday health, things like infection, irritation, or hygiene, most of these things can be managed without surgery. Basic education, proper washing, and early treatment solve the majority of these issues. So medically, it's not as simple as you must do it or you must not do it. It's about weighing potential benefits against the fact that you are removing functional tissue from a healthy body. And once it's done, it's permanent. You are not bringing it back. That's the part that usually gets left out of the conversation.
So recently I revealed that I'm circumcised, and I got circumcised when I was 20 years old. And I got a lot of messages, and I didn't know there's so much shame around people who want to get circumcised once they're older. So I thought it would be useful to share my story, why I got circumcised, and if I think it's better or not. From the very young age, I knew I want to move to US, and I watched a bunch of TV shows and movies, and I just saw a lot of jokes about people who aren't cut, which I don't think is very, very healthy. So from my perspective, I knew that everybody here is cut, or like 90% of the people is just cultural. And I did not want to be exotic or different. So I just thought it's going to be easier to cut it out and I'll be like everybody else. Number two is medical. A lot of people are glamorizing being uncut and they say, I wish my parents didn't do it to me. But usually those people don't know that there are different types of uncut. So I really did not like how it felt. I wasn't really getting any pleasure when I was growing up. I think it was actually making me a lot insecure. I wasn't really satisfied with how it looked. I wasn't really satisfied with how it felt. So again, I thought it's going to be easier to cut it off. Do I think it's better to be cut than uncut? In my case, absolutely. I think it makes my life 10 times easier. I feel so much better, I look so much better, and I feel so much more confident.
Whether people debate the details or not, the most important part is this: he was an adult when that decision was made. A doctor would have explained the situations, the options, the risk, and what the procedure would involve. And at that point, he had the ability to understand it, weigh his options, and agree to it. Now, compare it to what happens in most cases. Many boys in Nigeria are circumcised very early in life, sometimes within days or weeks, long before they can even understand what is being done or why. It's not a decision they participate in, of course. It's one that is being made for them by their parents. And that's where the conversation becomes deeper than just culture or medicine. Because beyond the benefits, beyond the tradition, the culture, there is also the question of timing and awareness. At one point, should someone have a say over a permanent change to their own body? That's not a simple question, and it doesn't have a one-size-fits-all answer. And it's a question that most people were never even given that opportunity to think about. Now, let's come to that part. Almost nobody explains properly what the foreskin actually does. It's often described as just extra skin, but medically that's not accurate. The foreskin is a specialized structure with a high concentration of nerve endings that contributes to fine touch and sensitivity. It also protects the glands, keeping it naturally moist instead of constantly exposed. Functionally, it allows for a smoother gliding motion through movement, whether that's everyday activity or sexual activity. That's part of how the body was designed to work.
Boys who do get circumcision, who then grow up to have either scarring issues, they have trouble with, they have less sexual pleasure because that is like a, not to be graphic or whatever, but there's like pleasure. What's the nerves? Thank you. There's like nerves that are removed. So, I mean, they probably, still enjoy sex, but it like diminishes to some degree the sexual pleasure that they would have otherwise had.
So when it's removed, that protective layer is gone and the gland stays exposed. Over time, it adapts to that exposure, which can change how sensation is experienced. That doesn't mean that it doesn't function or no pleasure, but it does mean the experience is no more the same. And that's something most people were never told, especially if it happened in infancy. And the key thing here is this: it's a permanent change. No reversal, not something you try and reverse later, not something you fully understand as a child. It's done first and probably explained later. That is it at all. So when you put all of this together, the tradition, the medical aspect, the questions around choice, you start to see something much deeper. Most of the time, decisions like this are not made from a place of detailed medical understanding. They are made from what people have always known. If you grow up in an environment where every boy around you is circumcised, where your family expects it, where it's linked to your identity, cleanliness, or even respect, it doesn't feel like a decision at all. It feels automatic, like something natural. And that's how culture works. It becomes so normal that nobody pauses to question it, even when the information is available. Parents are not necessarily trying to harm their child. That's not what I'm emphasizing in this video. In most cases, they are genuinely believing that they are doing the right thing because that's what was done to them and what everyone around them continues to do. At the same time, there is also the social pressure, the idea of being different.
From my perspective, I knew that everybody here is cut, or like 90% of the people is just cultural. And I did not want to be exotic or different. So I just thought it's going to be easier to cut it out and I'll be like everybody else.
Especially with something so personal, it can carry a lot of weight. People don't want their child to feel excluded, judged, or misunderstood. So even when science becomes more available, culture moves more slowly, and that's why conversations like this are very important. Not to attack tradition, but to bring awareness into it so that decisions are not made only from habit, but also from understanding. There's one part of this conversation that people often try to avoid, but it's important to address it carefully. When it comes to female genital cutting, global position is very clear. It's widely recognized as harmful, has no medical benefit, and it's legally banned in many parts of the world. And that stance is there for a reason. Male circumcision, on the other hand, is different medically. There are some documented health benefits, like I said before, and it is often performed within both medical and cultural context. But even with those differences, there is one point where the conversation overlaps, and that is consent.
Why are they violating a man without his consent, right? You were born and nobody's even asking you, like it's just a practice, we just accept it that way, that, oh, you just remove the foreskin. But that was how we were born, that's nature, that was how God created us. So why are we changing it?
In both situations, the procedure is usually done at a time when the person involved cannot understand it or make a decision about it. That doesn't mean the two are the same, and it's important not to confuse both. But it does raise a question that's worth thinking about. When it comes to permanent changes to the body, at what point should the person involved have a voice in that decision? It's not an easy question. And different people will have definitely different views, but it's a question that deserves space rather than being dismissed completely. So to all the men out there watching this, especially if nobody ever really explained your body to you, this part matters whether you like it or not. Let me keep it simple and very real. If you are not circumcised, your body is normal. Foreskin is not a mistake. It's not something that suddenly needs to be fixed. It protects the glands, it contains nerve endings that contribute to sensation, and it plays a role in how the body naturally works. Hygiene, on the other hand, is not complicated. You go into the shower, you gently retract, you rinse with water, and you are done. No overthinking, no harsh product inside there, just basic care. If it feels tight at some point, especially when you are younger, that can happen. It's normal. In many cases, it improves over time. If it becomes painful or doesn't improve, then that's when you should see a doctor. Not everything is a surgical emergency. If you are circumcised, then understand your own version of the body as well. The glands is more exposed, so dryness or irritation can happen. That's not unusual. You manage it, simple as that. The problem is not the body. The problem is that most people were never taught anything, so they grew up guessing, feeling unsure or quietly thinking something is wrong when it isn't. So whether anyone told you before or not, now you know. Take the information, do whatever you want with it. So when you look at all of this together, tradition, science, personal experience, it becomes quite clear that this is not a simple right or wrong conversation. There are situations where circumcision has medical value, especially in specific environments. That's real. But at the same time, it's also a permanent change made to the body. And for so many people, it happens long before they understand what it means. And that's why conversations like this matter a whole lot. Not to create fear, but to make sure that what is being done is also being understood. Because understanding your own body should not come years after decisions have already been made for you. It should come with clarity, should come with proper information and the ability to ask questions. So wherever you stand on this, whether you support it, question it, or have never really thought about it before, at least now you have more information than you ever did before. That's all I have for you guys today, and I hope you enjoyed this. If this made you think, I'd like to hear from you. What were you told growing up? And if you had the chance to decide later in life if you would go through circumcision, would you make that choice? Let's talk about it in the comment section below. Take care of yourself. Stay healthy, stay grounded. Bye for now.